I took acid again, and it was like taking it for the first time all over again. It's been a while since I took acid, and since I legitimately tripped and wasn't just microdosing. I didn't think I was going to ever again, honestly. I didn't think that I would like legitimately like trip balls again, but I did. It was the perfect time. I was really in the middle of like really deep, dark depression. And I'm not saying that that's a good time to take acid, you know what I mean? Honestly, you probably don't want to take acid when you're super depressed and not in a great mental state. But I feel like I made it up in my mind that I was sick of fucking whining, and I was sick of being like a bitch, you know. I feel like I've been like so afraid and nervous about psychedelics in the past, you know, couple years. Like I forgot that I knew how to take psychedelics, that I'm actually a lot more mentally strong than I give myself credit for. This was like a month ago, maybe a little bit more. My wife and my daughters left for a couple nights. I think I bought like a 12 pack of Heineken for myself. I was streaming, and I was actually playing a psychedelic horror game called Layers of Fear 2. As I was drinking and as I started playing the game, I was like, fuck it. I went and grabbed some LSD that I had in the closet and took about 25 micrograms, which is not that much. Very mild dosage. Some people really won't even feel many effects, you know. And as I started feeling the effects of it, about an hour later, into the game, felt like an hour later, I got even more liquid courage and decided to take more. Now, let me take it back a little bit. This game is called Layers of Fear 2. It's a psychedelic horror game. It was terrifying. In general, just to be smoking and drinking and playing it was scary. But it's like I started getting this courage. Like I just started like being like I don't know, just confident. I found this confidence in whether it was the alcohol or just like the place I was at mentally, like just being over myself. I told myself like, fuck, like why not? Just take some fucking acid. Who gives a shit? Take a little bit. You'll be fine. Like I just told myself, who cares? Just do it. You're alone. The kids and your wife are gone. Like you might as well take advantage of this night. I have nights where, you know, my wife takes the kids and she goes and hangs out with her family or whatever. And a lot of the time I'll just get drunk and get sad and depressed. And I really didn't want to do that that night. And I'm not telling the story that well right now. It's just kind of like so much has happened since then. And taking the acid was kind of like a big like step in the right direction for me mentally. So as I start feeling the effects of the first tab that I took, or the first little bit I took, I just started getting really deep into the game, and like everything was very scary. After I took the second tab, which probably ended up making it a total of like 80 micrograms that I took, I started to actually feel uncomfortable and like sick because of the game. Like it was almost like I was like doing like, this is definitely the worst thing that you could do when you're on acid. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fun and it was entertaining, but it was also terrifying. And once I started to really like get so deep into this weird mindfuck game that I couldn't really distinguish reality from fiction, that's when I really started to be like, holy shit, I need to not be streaming right now, and I need to get out of here. But I also had like this mental strength, and I was so confident with it. Like I don't feel like I really like I was on acid playing a terrifying video game, and I don't feel like I was really acting how you would expect somebody to act like that. Like I was very fucking confident in myself. So I ended the stream. I'm like, look guys, I don't want to say too much. Something along those lines. Like I can't do this right now. I'm totally fine, but this game is crazy, and maybe I'll see you guys later tonight or tomorrow. After I turned the game off, everything just went like, holy shit, like, damn, I forgot what this was like. I really just wanted to lay on my bed and listen to music. So I put on the psychedelic chill out Spotify playlist, and just let that play. And I turned it up, and I actually put visuals, like I typed in like not spectrogram, I don't know. I think I put in like trippy visuals or some shit. Like, I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. I put that on my big TV in front of my bed, laid on my bed, and honestly, laying down, I started feeling scared. So I had to sit up and like just sit there and stare at the visuals. And I feel like I did that for like 30 minutes straight. Just listen to music and looked at visuals. And it really reminded me of that time I took mushrooms alone. And that's kind of like a classic trip story video. It really reminded me of that a lot. Like how enjoyable it is. It's definitely terrifying and it has its downsides to it, but it's so open to be able to trip balls alone and by yourself, like just to like spin in a circle and just not worry about how you look to anybody or how they look to you or how the interaction is going and how they're feeling. Like it's just such an open, freeing feeling to take psychedelics when you're by yourself. And I remembered that. It's also fun. You feel like you get so excited to do different measly little things, like listen to a certain song, like watch a video or a certain thing. And I forgot about how like much back in the day when we would take psychedelics, I would like create a list. Like, okay, we're going to listen to these songs. We're going to watch this movie. We're going to do this and this and this. And it was like, everything was just so perfectly planned out and so much fun. And I didn't plan on taking acid this night, so I didn't have no plans. But I started thinking like, okay, I'm sitting here watching visuals, I'm chilling, I feel amazing, like body sensation, physical. I haven't felt that in a long time off of acid. And it was beautiful, it really was. And after that, I kind of got into like a bit of like introspective kind of thoughts. Like the music was still playing. I wasn't really watching the visuals, but I was just sitting there thinking and just trying to like really like think about my life and where my head was at and just trying to like learn. And I think one thing that I did learn and I remembered and I think about every day is I told myself, because actually, okay, so I started working on this album called Mindfuck like a few days before. And in the notes I wrote, I put like, this is what I want in the album, and I eventually want to get to a point where the album sums up this conclusion. And I don't really want to talk about it yet because I haven't talked about the album yet, but I want this certain conclusion. And basically it was like trying to silence the voices in my head. So I guess I will talk about it. And I really came to this conclusion, like it's not about silencing those voices. Like they're gonna be there. All the negativity and self-destruction and all the bullshit that's inside of our heads that we continuously can like run away from, but like subconsciously hug onto at the same time. It's always going to be there no matter what. All you can do is go above it. And I wrote this down. I went and grabbed a piece of paper and I scribbled it down. Do not try to quiet the voices, just rise above them. And in that moment I was like, fuck, I can just be bigger than all this shit. Like I've always thought this way and I've always been this way, but back in the day I just didn't give a fuck that much. I just didn't care. And it was a huge eye-opener and like a really, really good push in the right direction. Not necessarily psychedelics or drug wise. I have not taken acid since. No, I really have the urge to either. But it really was like a fucking slap in the ass, or like, I don't know what phrase I want to use, but it really was a fucking shove towards really, really being better and happier. And obviously taking acid one night is not going to solve all my problems and make everything okay. I know that. I hope you guys know that. But it was a huge step in the right direction and just a perfect igniter for everything. Little few more details about what happened that night. So I'm sitting there introspective in thought, and after that, I remembered there was this movie called Enter the Void that I've always wanted to watch while I was on acid. And I've downloaded it like 3 or 4 times. This is probably like my 5th time downloading it because I just held it onto it for so long because I wanted the right moment. And this felt like the right moment, and it was. In the movie Enter the Void, guys, if you're looking for something to trip balls and watch, Enter the Void will trip you the fuck out. It actually tripped me out so deeply. About halfway, I had to turn it off because I was just kind of like going down a dark, bad trip type of road, which I didn't want to go down. In the movie, there's this crazy visuals and like a DMT trip, and it like connects DMT and death and the afterlife and all this other shit. And it's insanely amazing and a beautiful piece of art. But halfway through, it started kind of getting like incestual, and it was like super like uncomfortable to watch, and I just didn't want to. Not taken away from the movie, but I was just kind of way too in my head and did not want to go down any sort of bad trip alley at all. During this time, I actually almost had another bad trip road grab me, and it was my vape pen ran out of batteries, and I thought that I had left my charger in my wife's car, and if I did, I wasn't gonna be able to smoke anymore. So I started freaking the fuck out, and I went to go look, and I started pulling stuff out of my bag, and I found it, and I was like, oh God, thank God. And that was honestly mostly it. I think I started streaming later on that night. I was like kind of like fucked up. I don't really remember too well. I think I streamed and like put visuals on the screen and like wasn't really like making too much sense. It was a pretty long trip. It was like 6 hours of like good tripping, and I fell asleep in the morning watching Fortnite. Fortnite was like one of the best things to help me like just chill out. It was weird. Watching this insane like competitive Fortnite gameplay was calming to me in that moment and helped me like kind of like relax and go to sleep. And that was it. That was my most recent acid trip. The acid trip I never thought I'd take again. And it was a perfect like moment, and I'll always remember it and be thankful for it, just like I'll always remember and be thankful for those first like few acid trips, or even all of them. I don't know, all of them probably, because they're all so different. And this time really did feel like doing it again, and it was beautiful and amazing, and it really just like made me respect psychedelics so much more and just like appreciate them, I think, more. And I feel like lately I've started to grow this kind of resentment for the psychedelics and psychedelic channel that I have, and I'm doing my best to try to like get away from that and just kind of like grow as a person and not just be like the drug guy. But this moment, not only did it really make me appreciate the psychedelics and stuff like that more, it actually made me more comfortable with sort of just letting go of forcing myself into that corner as well. It kind of like helped me just be like, who gives a shit, man? Just do you, be yourself. If people want to be there, you know, if you feel like you're being overwhelmed by just having to make this psychedelic content, that has nothing to do with your audience or anything except for yourself. Who gives a fuck? Like, it really helped me not give a fuck. And it's actually hilarious because right after all that, I actually started making moves to get my GED. I started making moves to just self-improve. I downloaded this audiobook called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck like 2 or 3 days later. And I'm telling you, that book was monumental in just getting my head straight. And I'll always remember that trip as just a beautiful one, a well-deserved one, and one that definitely is helping me get to the next phase of my life and being happy, healthy, and myself. So it's a good way to end it. I appreciate you guys for watching all the way to the end. You guys are awesome. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, love you. I'm done. Good job. Love you. Peace out, guys. Love you guys.